All right. Welcome to another episode of the Tribal Training Podcast. This is going on Spotify and YouTube. And I've got some screen share here. So if you are listening on Spotify and you want to get the details of this episode and the schedule that I'm going to run you through here, I highly encourage you to go check out the YouTube. This podcast episode is all about how we hired a sleep coach for my newborn son and how it changed everything for the better related to his sleep schedule, which then in turn unlocked my ability to organize my training, be a little bit more effective in my business, release a lot of stress that my wife and I were really absorbing with the unpredictability of a newborn sleep schedule. And this was like so life changing that I really just want to share it for you guys. And I'm specifically sharing this because number one, it was so effective for us, and it has just been wild how simple and straightforward it is. And number two is that I have heard from some new dads in tribal training or just some dads with young kids. He's like, hey, I was planning to do my ride at 5 in the morning, but then the kid woke up and then all of a sudden I had to abandon the ride. Right. And so this protocol here is going to cut right through that. And it's going to give you a lot of predictability on when you have time windows, right? When you are going to be on with the kid, but then when the kid is going to be napping and when the kid is going to be down for the night until the morning. And this is really all based off of this sleep coach that Chelsea and I hired. Her name is Pia. And we were recommended to her. And she is this Dutch woman that lives on a boat in New England. And I remember on basically like the first call that we had with her, she hops on the Zoom and she's this Dutch woman. So she's got like this accent and she just has this authority to her that instantly I'm just like, I will literally trust anything that you say. I think that if it was like some American sleep coach who's trying to have us use these different devices and all kinds of other shit, I'd be like, no way, I'm not buying into this. But this lady, the second that she's telling me she's Dutch, she lives on a boat, she like races sailboats for a living and just casually does this on the side, I'm like, you have my complete trust. And it pretty much worked to a T instantly. So just going to get kind of right into it here. So for starters, what were we dealing with before hiring Pia? And if you want to hire Pia after hearing this, she was $500. It was 1,000% worth it. It would have been worth it for way more money. You can connect with me. I actually don't really know her contact info. My wife has been the one contacting with her, but I will get you connected. But here is basically what we were dealing with. So my son, Jack, I'd been saying newborn, but as of this recording, he is 11 months old. And we hired Pia when he was 7 months old. So, we got through the first couple of months of newborn life. And then, we're getting into him being 4, 5, 6 months old. And we were feeling too much unpredictability with his nap schedule and how well he was sleeping through the night. And so we had a lot of uncertainty around the clock. We felt like we were being dictated by Jack's schedule. And his schedule is unpredictable. So we're like kind of just always waiting to see, like, is he going to go down? Are we going to try to have him stay down? Oh, we tried to put him down, but he's not really going down. Should we just get him up? Are we going to be able to get him to nap if we just hold him the whole time? Like, these are all the things that were going on when he's 6 months old. And we really just wanted to get some certainty and get kind of a protocol in place. And so we reach out to Pia. And she basically reveals, I'll get into the schedule here in a second and walk you through exactly what we do. But the number one thing that I learned from this process was that all of the things that I was doing to get Jack to nap in the short term were compromising the whole mission of him napping on a regular schedule or him staying down when he goes down. For example, I was not doing a good job of the transfer from the rocking chair to the crib, right? Like trying to get him down for a nap, hanging with him in the rocking chair, feeding him some bottle. Then I'd try to then he'd fall asleep, and then I'd try to get him up I'd stand up to get him into the crib. And in that transition, he'd wake up and then I'd lay him down in the crib and he'd be awake. And I'm like, shit, got to get back in the chair. So what I started doing then is I very often would just have him nap and I would just sit in the chair the whole time. It's like, listen, if he's napping for an hour and if that just means that I got to sit here, like, I'm fine with that. Like, need the kid to nap. And it even got to the point that I'm like starting to just like listen to audiobooks on tape. I'm like, I'm willing to chill here for 2 hours if he's going to nap for this long. Like, I'm down for the ride, right? Like, let's go. But what I realized after working with Pia is that, like, if I'm doing that kind of stuff, totally not training him to actually nap on his own. Now, the one other caveat that I'll mention is that, this is beyond that newborn phase where we were totally prioritizing like skin to skin contact and holding him all the time and all that stuff. So like we were doing all of that in his first couple of months of life, like always having him on us, always holding him. But this was really like getting into, okay, he's 5, 6, almost 7 months old. And now he's supposed to be napping regularly. And we're still holding him all the time when he's awake, right? He doesn't know how to crawl yet. But when we need him to nap, like we need to be able to put him down. So that was the mission here. So that was the first thing that I learned that stuck out, was that all of the little tricks that I was trying to implement were corrupting the overall mission. The next tactical thing, though, was that the baby's ability to both nap and sleep around the clock is 1,000% dictated by the amount of time that they get outside. And when I heard this, I was like, oh my goodness, this should have been so obvious to me. Like, I am so in on like the morning sunlight. I'm in on the circadian rhythm, right? I'm in on being outside and actually tiring yourself out and not being on your screens in the evening. And I'm like, I didn't really apply this to the kiddo. And what was kind of funny is when we hired Pia, the week before we hired Pia, there was a crazy cold front across the country. And here in Colorado, it was like -10, sub-zero for like a week. So Jack did not go outside. And all of a sudden, he's not freaking sleeping. So that is what literally led us to working with Pia. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my goodness, freaking duh. Okay, so sleep quality is 100% determined by outside time. I got some notes here I'm reading through. The other thing that stuck out, and I'm going to get to the schedule here, but the other thing that stuck out was that his bath time should be something that tires him out. So my thoughts and just default on bath time was like, I don't know, get him in the tub and wipe him down and like, we're good to go. Like, get him out. Like, I'm not really a long shower guy myself. I'm in there to clean myself off. And when I'm clean, all right, let's get out and go get on to the next thing. And I was applying that mindset to Jack. And what Pia really helped reveal is that bath time is actually supposed to tire them out. And obviously it's in prep of bedtime. And I just chuckled a little bit because in my head, I hadn't totally consciously asked this question. But as I'm bathing him in like, just a couple of quick minutes, in the back of my head, I'm like, why do we have all these bath toys? Like, who's just hanging out in the bath here? Like we're locked in. We got this cruising. So then all of a sudden Pia says this and I'm like, oh, so that's why we've got this freaking net of sea creatures that we're supposed to be splashing around with. Duh. So that was the other unlock. Okay, so now into the schedule. So let me say one other thing. So the main protocol that gets implemented here is the 5-1 rule. And the 5-1 rule is applied anytime that they are sleeping, so naps or overnight. And the 5-1 rule, this really teaches them to soothe themselves and fall back asleep without interruption. This is also one of the things that revealed that what I was doing before this was totally corrupting the overall mission. What was I doing before? Anytime we hear Jack crying, rush right in and like try to replace the bank or like try to soothe him right away, give him more bottle, whatever. Like hear crying, instantly go in. And the 5-1 rule with Pia here, it really takes a different approach. So 5-1, what does that mean? It means for 5 minutes, you let them cry on their own. You do not go in. You let them cry. Then you go in for 1 minute and you soothe them without making eye contact. This is the key. without eye contact. Because if you make eye contact with them while they're in like this drowsy state, they start to get aroused, right? And they start to, follow your attention, and all of a sudden they're waking up. So the 1 minute protocol is you go in and you basically just shh while you're like rubbing their belly or rubbing their back or maybe rubbing the top of their head. And it's just the shh for about a minute. Then you leave. Hopefully at that point, they're not crying. But if they start crying again, the 5 minutes restarts. So the 5 minutes restarts every time the baby starts to cry. So for example, if Jack starts to cry at, let's say it's 8 p.m., he's down for the night, he starts to cry, we wait till 8:05, we go in, using the timer on the Garmin, another unlock here with the endurance athlete, let's go, got the Garmin on the wrist, we're timing this out. He's crying till 8:05. Then we go in. We're soothing for a minute until 8:06, right? It doesn't need to be exactly perfect, but generally speaking. Then let's just say we go out and he's fine for 3-4 minutes. No timer is going. The 5 minute timer only restarts once the baby starts crying again. And then you just repeat the cycle. And I will tell you, the first night that we did this with this new protocol, it took 27 minutes. We timed it out. My wife had the clock going. She was dialed on this. It took 27 minutes for him to go down. Night number 2 took 14 minutes. Night number 3, less than 5. And since then, he's basically been either no adjustment or he needs one adjustment. More likely than not, the adjustment is just gathering the bank and putting it back in his mouth. So that is the most tactical protocol. So let's get into the actual schedule, though, because this is also the huge thing is that, listen, if Jack wakes up at 5 a.m., I'm not rushing to go get him. And I'm not like having to, totally disrupt everything that I'm doing. So 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., this is the wake up window. If he wakes up at any point in this window, we get him. If he is not up by 7, we will get him at 7. Now, first move is he gets bottle right when he wakes up, but we cap it at 6 ounces because around this 7-month benchmark, we're really having him eat real food. And he's still on this milk protocol, but we're trying to have him eat more real food. So we cap the milk at 6 ounces. I think there's 4 wake ups that we'll go throughout the day here. And so it's a total of 24 ounces that he could get. But we're not just giving him bottle until he's full. Like we're giving him, we're capping him at 6 ounces. And then it's some of that morning playtime. That's what's next. He's crawling around. We're messing with blocks. We got all the little toys and knickknacks and gadgets that we got. And we are hanging with him. Then at 7:30 to 8, we pretty much do this at 8 now. He gets breakfast, and his breakfast is a protein, a veggie, a carb, and water. Now, another thing from Pia here that goes a little bit maybe contrary or maybe just nuanced relative to like American diet standards is that Pia differentiates carbs and fruits. Now, we all know from endurance training that fruits are carbs, but whenever Pia mentions carb here, she's talking about a starch. So she's talking about maybe bread. Maybe he's having some sourdough toast. Maybe he's having rice, but he's not having blueberries or banana for this first breakfast meal. So we get breakfast in at 8. Maybe that goes to 8:20, 8:30 or so, and then we got a few more minutes of playtime, and then at 9 he goes down for nap number 1. And this nap number 1, this is 9 to 10:30. And so this is where it's really starting to help me, both just in like how I'm running my business, how I'm thinking about fitting in training throughout the day is like, I'm knowing now, boom, at 9 a.m., like I'm going to get relief from my parenting duties. And I'm going to have a 90-minute window where I can get what I need to done. My wife and I, we basically do a bit of a rotation. We've got Jack at a nanny 2 days a week, but my wife and I, we both work for ourselves. So we kind of tag team the Jack duty, my wife taking a bit more of the load throughout the general workday, but like we're both sort of supporting each other throughout that. So that is very valuable for me to know, like, boom, 9, I got time right there. Then at 10:30 a.m., and I guess to circle back to that 9 to 10:30, we're doing the 5-1, right? It's 5-1. Then at 10:30, he wakes up and he's got a morning snack. And the morning snack is protein, fruit, and water. He can also have the bottle with milk, and again, no more than 6 ounces. So pretty much anytime he's waking up, we're giving him bottle first, like just in the first couple of minutes as he's waking up. But then it's the real food snack. So protein, fruit, and water. A good example of this snack for him lately has been like Greek yogurt or cottage cheese, pear or blueberry or banana, and water. Sometimes we'll do, like crush up some real blueberries, cut up some real pears for him. But we also have a couple of baby purees that we really like, some quality ingredient ones that maybe we just put pear puree into a cottage cheese for him, and boom, that's the morning snack. That's generally going 10:30 to 11, and then 11 to 12, this is outside time. So this is either going on a walk with him. Now that we're getting into springtime, maybe it's just hanging out in the backyard, getting him some sun. Maybe it's taking him to the park. Maybe it's just taking him out on some errands that one of us is running. If my wife's running some errands or going to the store or something, it's like basically anything that's stimulating to him. Because just being out in the world, he's using up mental energy, like taking it all in. So that is 11 to 12. Then we're back at the house, 12 to 12:30 for lunch. And now lunch, we got protein, veggie, carb. So we're off the fruit again, back to a starch carb. And that takes us up until about 1, which then we've got the key nap of the day is nap number 2. This goes 1 to 3 p.m. And so again, for me, as I'm running my business, as I'm fitting in training, like knowing that there's a 2-hour block is crucial. I will also say, I'll highlight this a little bit more towards the end of the day when we get into the dinner time, the bath time, the bedtime. But I have found that it's very helpful for me to show up how I want as a father, knowing that I've got these breaks coming up, right? So like if he's being like a little wild in the middle of the day, it's like mentally I know, okay, like, well, at 1 p.m. we're getting him down. Like no questions asked about that. Then at 3, we get him up. And the other thing that I'll say related to these naps is like, okay, well, if he wakes up at 2:30, we're sticking to 5-1. Like we're not getting him out just because he woke up. And that, of course, required a couple of reps to, make sure that he's staying down, and hasn't been perfect. But we have transcended this situation where we're trying to put him down and he's not napping, and we're playing this whole game of, should we just get him up? Should we do this? Should we go in to get him? And it's like, no, we've got a protocol. If he's crying, we're on 5-1, and he's staying down until 3. Like we're locked in. Let's go. So 3 p.m. then he gets up, and we got another bottle capped at 6 ounces, and then we got a protein and a fruit again. So similar snack to the morning. This might be cottage cheese and pear puree, or Greek yogurt and some blueberries or something like that. Then 3:30 to 4:45, we got another round of outside time. Same deal as before. Maybe it's a walk. Maybe it's hanging in the yard. Maybe it's going to the park. Maybe it's just going out on some errands with mom. Doesn't really make a difference. 5 p.m., we get into very clear time blocks of how the evening is winding down. We got 5 p.m. dinner, then we got 6 p.m. bath, and then we got 7 p.m. bedtime. So 5 p.m. dinner, we got protein, veggies, carb, and water. That's rolling until 5:30 or so. Maybe Chelsea and I will eat at that time, but more often we're eating after he's down. Then maybe a little bit of just like playtime or floor time before we get into the 6 p.m. bath. So bath time is 6 to 6:20. Like I said, that was one of the big unlocks through this process, is transcending or evolving out of the 3-minute bath of, oh, he's clean, what else do we need to do? To bath time is actually a bit of a stimulating activity that should tire him out a little bit as we wind down and get into the bedtime routine. So 6:20, he's out. And then 6:20 to 6:50-ish is getting his PJs on, a little bit of bedroom play and like floor time, and then reading 2 books. This was a big part of Pia's protocol. I mean, we were pretty good on reading books in the evening, but this provided a little bit more emphasis for it. Just the value of course, him hearing us speak, him, hearing words, stuff like that. And then he's got a little bit of bottle action before going down at 7. Again, the bottle is capped at 6 ounces. So, thinking about this evening routine and how it has helped me as a dad. So I know that, hey, if something's going a little wild with the outside time, or if he's a little bit fussy, right? It's like, okay, well, I just got to get to 5 p.m. for dinner. If dinner's going a little bit wild and he's going a little off the chain, it's like, okay, well, I just got to get to 6 p.m. That's bath time. We got to change up of environment. If bath time's going nuts, right? It's like, okay, just got a few more things to do until he's down at 7. And to me, this is the exact same concept as breaking down the marathon in the back half of an Ironman. Like when I've got freaking 6 miles to go, I'm at mile 20 of an Ironman run. It's like, I'm not thinking about the fact that I still need to run for an hour. I'm thinking about the fact that I got to just get to the next aid station. Okay, I can get through 2 aid stations and then I'm just going to have 3 miles left. And then when I just got 3 miles left, like I'm thinking about it like it's a neighborhood run and it's a thing I've done a million times. And I just got to get to the next aid station, right? And then there's 2 miles left and then it's like, okay, I just got 1 more mile and then I'm on the last mile. Like these are the mind games that I play in endurance with myself. And I have found them showing up throughout this protocol. So this has really been like just massive for Team Dryer and getting Jack to sleep consistently. Like not only did this give us a lot of peace of mind around the time blocks and knowing that it's like, hey, once he's down, then like Chelsea and I have some time together, from 7 to 9 or whenever we're going down to bed. And then also for me, like, all right, well, if I want to get up in the morning, like I have time to myself generally until about 6:30, because that's when he about gets up, right? There's no situation where it's like, oh, I was expecting to do this. And then all of a sudden my son woke up at 4 and I just had to go like entertain him, or I had to go totally throw what I was doing out the window. It's like, no. If he does get up at a certain time, it's like 5:1. Let's go. We got a plan here. And that gives me space to do what I want to do in the morning, whether that's work on my business a little bit, whether that's get in some training, whether that's just like reading and some time of solitude. Like I know that I have that time. And another thing that this all just sort of highlighted to me, it really speaks to the conversation around boundaries that has been prevalent inside of tribal training lately. How valuable it is for me as a new dad to know that I've got these boundaries of like, okay, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. he's going to be down. 1 to 3 he's going to be down. At 5 p.m. we're getting into the evening routine, and I've just got a little bit more time with him until he's down for the night at 7, right? And then circling it back to the next day or looking forward to the next day. It's like, okay, well, I can get up at 5 if I want to go do some shit, right? I can get up and I've got some time to myself to do what I please. So hopefully this has been valuable for you. If you are interested, like I said, Pia, we call her the Pia police. That was like a joke in our house. We're telling Jack, like when we had decided to work with her, but before we actually got on the protocol, we were telling Jack, listen, Jack, the Pia police is coming. All right, so you're in for a treat here, buddy boy. She was $500. I don't imagine that she's changed her prices since we worked with her 4 months ago. The other thing that I will say is that we had a friend work with her who had, I think it was a 5-month-old. And the 5-month-old just had one extra afternoon nap. I don't think that 1 to 3 p.m. nap was quite as long, but there was a second one that I think was an outside nap. So maybe their adjustment was that the 1 p.m. nap only went until 2, and then that 3:30 to 4:45, I believe that was like an outside nap, walking in the stroller nap. So yeah, that's what I got. Thanks for listening. If this is valuable for you, please let me know in the comments. Please hit me up, because I really enjoy sharing this stuff that's helping me out holistically. And ultimately, this has been a big unlock for me getting in my training related to Zion 100, right? I'm building towards a 100-mile race. Not exactly, simple to do if you've got an unpredictable newborn nap schedule. So we will call it at that.